Is Crossfire X multiplayer good? Alright boys, let's discuss it. Now before we dive in, I want to say that this will be an initial thoughts review. Given that Crossfire has only been out for less than a day, I will not come to a conclusion and finalize my judgment on this game at the end of this video. This is first impressions, so I'll give it a few weeks of more experience and playtime and then the proper analysis. Now from that mindset, you can already get a brief preview of what I think about this game. Crossfire is a good first-person shooter and it has potential, but like many other games in the current FPS market, including what I used to cover Halo Infinite, Battlefield 2042, Call of Duty, and so on, this game also needs to be fixed. More game modes, maps, and more developer interaction with the community to address these issues. So pretty much like everything else, it's missing some content. Right now, the multiplayer itself is core boots on the ground combat, heavily focused on tactical gunplay with fast TTK. Your precision hits are rewarding, but body shots put you at a disadvantage to players with good aim, and that is a solid skill gap that you will quickly notice when you jump in. Going off that, there's a large weapon selection of rifle variants based on real guns. For example, AKs, the SCAR, M16, and also sniper rifles, LMGs, SMGs, shotguns, and so on. Loadouts are present and entirely customizable with weapons that can be modded, and this is anything from barrel attachments to magazines, charms, and even weapon skins. Being a weapons guy myself, and I plan on making more weapon videos on Crossfire later on. The weapon customization with mods is really cool and improves your gun's stability, accuracy, reload, and so on. So this feature is really sweet about Crossfire X. It's quite interesting in this game and nice to mod your gun. And with the primary weapons, there are also secondary guns like sidearms, but also knives and grenades. And of course it's simple at the moment, but you can customize that as well. Essentially, you can build a loadout for your playstyle. Close range, medium range, or long range, you can make a loadout for your style. Now having said that, despite this cool weapon depth, shooting guns in Crossfire X is a bit weird right now. Not because the weapons are bad, but because there is sensitivity, acceleration, and aim assist issues on controllers. It feels a bit clunky to aim and hip fire and aim down sights, like a heavy aim or non-fluid motion aiming with thumbsticks. It cannot be too slow or too fast, and it varies. It's really strange. But that said, given that this is Smilegate's first attempt at making Crossfire on console, I don't expect them to get it right since the OG Crossfire is strictly for PC, and obviously mouse and keyboard. And to be real with you, this console version feels like it should be played on mouse and keyboard rather than controller. The good news is the developers are working on a solution to aiming right now. They are taking player feedback seriously. Aside from these superficial issues, the core combat loop is still solid and simple fun once your brain readjusts to the whack aiming. But beyond that, there is another key issue, and that is spawn system. Playlists like Crossfire's version of Control with points A, B, and C, and even Team Deathmatch, oftentimes will become ground zero for farming and camping by spawn areas. And the reason being is because you essentially spawn at the opposite sides of the map. So enemy players have the ability to just obliterate you if they hold down your spawn areas. And obviously a good team, the better players they have, the easier this becomes to do. And it just turns into a feedback loop and becomes really annoying when you run out and die to like 1,000 bullets shooting your face. The game's been out for less than a day, but I've been on teams that already farm spawns and I've also got destroyed as well. But I still like the game. So spawning needs to be improved and perhaps randomized with respect to Crossfire's map design, and also take into consideration player sightlines. My feedback is make it so random spawn points on maps get priority over team spawn zones, if possible for certain modes. To tie that in certain modes you also have certain abilities like dash, slide, damage boost, riot shield, and so on, and you can access them at the beginning of the game, allowing you to mod your player character a bit like weapon attachments. Basically for the player it is simple abilities or perks giving your player some better traits, and I actually like these traits but will dedicate a separate video discussing them and giving my full thoughts. Now at the tip of these player modifications is abilities you earn while playing the game, and this is in-game stuff, so when a match is going on. So a little bit similar to how you earn super energy in Destiny 2, you can earn something called a heartbeat sensor, allowing you to essentially have a better radar. There's also a Spectre ability, which is active camo like in Halo, turning you invisible. And then after that, the most overpowered ability in Crossfire X, turning into something called the Boogeyman. So imagine having 2 SMGs and 2 bladed melee weapons, being fast and having health like 3 overshields in Halo 3, and a ton of ammo. That's the Boogeyman in Crossfire. Truthfully, it is kind of awesome. Like you can mow down people and just go on killing sprees and everything, just destroy everything. But at the same time, it becomes a pain in the ass because it's so easily accessible by getting kills than just playing the game. So you can have like multiple boogeyman running around destroying everything on each team. But tying that back to the spawn system and aiming issues, it just becomes really strange. The boogeyman can farm kills and it's also harder to kill him. So essentially I want to emphasize this point that you can literally farm kills as an overpowered boogeyman near enemy spawn areas. And as much as I like this ability and concept, I do think it needs to be a little bit reworked and made more difficult to earn while you're playing the match. So raise the point ceiling you must earn in order to activate it, and maybe slightly decrease the health so it's a little bit easier to kill. But the heartbeat sensor inspector ability, I think they're fine, and it's cool going invisible. I like that. With that out of the way, I kind of want to conclude these initial thoughts and first impressions because I don't want to make this video too long. Again, I like Crossfire X. I think it has a great foundation to be a solid multiplayer experience, but Smilegate needs to address these issues that we talked about with aiming, spawning, and OP status of Boogeyman. In addition to that, in terms of playlists, Crossfire has a modern playlist with sprint and also a classic Crossfire mode, and this splits up into a few different things like point control, which is that zone control that we talked about earlier, team deathmatch, and a handful of other playlists. But with these options, it just feels like it's lacking something. The game needs more game modes and maps to be added. It gets kind of repetitive to play the same map in the same mode over and over again, so there needs to be some kind of rotation. And one thing that is unrelated but I would personally like to see in Crossfire X is custom controller mapping. This would allow you to choose which buttons do what on the controller and kind of customize your configuration. Games like Battlefield 2042, which isn't the best example obviously, they allow you to do that. And another thing I'd like to see is an FOV slider, at least from 70 to 100 FOV. It would make the game a lot more easier on some of our eyes if we can play at like a 90 or 100 FOV. Overall, I do think Crossfire X multiplayer is good, not on the level of Call of Duty or Apex Legends or something like that, but in the current FPS market, I'd give this game an 8 out of 10 for its multiplayer. I'm gonna be a realist, it does need a bunch of hotfixes and game updates to smoothen it out, especially performance, because sometimes you're gonna get frame drops and you're gonna go down to like 45, somewhere between 45 and 60 FPS, so it's like superficial issues that need to be addressed. But not gonna lie, I actually enjoy playing it and will stick around with this game. I do hope that the developers listen to the community and the feedback coming from the players. It will definitely improve the experience if they make the changes that the community wants. Honestly, Crossfire X is a cool game, but needs a bit of work to polish things up. If you want to try Crossfire, the multiplayer is free to play on Xbox. You can download it anytime if you want to try something new. I do know that there are campaign modes for this game, and I will make a separate campaign thoughts video once I get to play it. So if interested, be on the lookout for that. And definitely I'm going to look into the weapons and attachments. Again, we will revisit Crossfire X for a more detailed analysis in a few weeks. But for now, my mind is open for this game. The gameplay foundation is there and it can be a solid multiplayer experience and FPS. As always, thank you for watching and until next time.